So, deep in what's known as Germany's Green Heart, there's this hidden battle going on. We're going to dive into it today using the perspective of an author, Gabriel Matz, who writes from his own personal journey through recovery. And what he reveals is a community fighting a war on two fronts, one against organized crime and another for the health and well-being of its own people. When you think of Thuringia, you probably picture these beautiful, lush forests and historic cities. I mean, there's a reason they call it the Green Heart of Germany. But as we're about to see, right beneath that idyllic surface, there's a really serious struggle unfolding against drug crime and addiction. And that contrast, that's really at the center of everything we're talking about today. All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at what this two-front battle actually means. Then we'll get into the specifics of the crackdown on crime and the massive danger posed by synthetic drugs. After that, we'll shift to the path to help that's being built. And finally, we'll talk about why this fight matters so much. Okay, so first up, Thuringia's two-front battle. This is really a story about crime, yes, but it's also a story about health and ultimately about community. So let's look at that first front, the crackdown on crime. Here's how law enforcement is responding directly to the drug trade. The police in Thuringia are not messing around. They are sending a very clear message. We've seen a huge raid in Erfurt that completely dismantled a professional drug gang. At the same time, over in the Saale-Orla-Kreis district, police stormed several apartments, arresting two suspected dealers. The objective here is pretty clear: to land a major blow against the organized criminal element that profits from addiction. And if you look at what they actually seized, you start to see a really interesting pattern. In Erfurt, the big finds were kilograms of cannabis and ecstasy. But over in Saale-Orla-Kreis, it was cocaine and, this is really significant, crystal meth. This suggests we're looking at different criminal networks pushing different, and in some cases, much more dangerous substances across the region. And yeah, it's that seizure of crystal meth that's got experts really concerned. Because, it's not just about the amount of drugs. The type of drug is a huge piece of this puzzle, especially when we're talking about synthetics. So you have to ask, right? What is it about synthetic drugs like crystal meth that poses such an extreme, outsized threat, not just to the people using them, but to the entire community? Well, crystal meth is an incredibly powerful man-made stimulant. And part of its hook, what makes it so insidious, is that it taps into this modern demand for substances that people think will enhance their performance. But that perceived benefit comes with a devastating, life-altering cost. And the fallout, psychologically speaking, is just brutal. Users can develop severe paranoia almost immediately. It can trigger full-blown psychosis. All of this leads to a shockingly fast physical and mental decline, a downward spiral that is just incredibly hard to pull out of. Okay, so we've seen the problem. But now let's pivot to the other side of this fight. Because there is hope. Let's talk about how Thuringia is forging a path to help with a really innovative approach to addiction support. What Thuringia is doing here is actually pretty groundbreaking. They're taking this really holistic, three-pronged approach. First, you've got the State Office for Addiction Issues, the LSST, which serves as a central hub for reliable information. Second, they're focusing on integration, holding events like Psychiatry Day to bring addiction specialists and psychiatric care providers together. And third, they are hammering home a crucial message of support. Help is out there, it's free, and it's anonymous. And this is the absolute key to their whole approach. This idea that you shouldn't treat addiction and mental illness as two separate issues, but as a single interconnected challenge, two sides of the same coin. By doing that, Thuringia is creating genuine, tangible hope. It's this holistic view that makes their strategy so powerful. So let's bring these two stories, the law enforcement angle and the support system, back together. Because you really can't understand one without the other, and together they show us what's really at stake for this community's future. And it's so important to remember where this all comes from. Knowing that the author, Gabriel Max, is writing from his own lived experience of recovery, well, that's what gives all these facts and figures their true weight and their profound sense of urgency. So let's just lay it all out one more time. You've got these two critical efforts happening at the same time. On one side, law enforcement is working to disrupt criminal networks and get these dangerous substances off the street. On the other, the health system is providing resources, integrating care, and offering a lifeline. And the big takeaway here is that neither side can win this battle alone. Real progress only happens when they're both working together. And this brings us to the most powerful, the most important message in all of this, taken straight from the source. A direct message to anyone out there who might be going through this. You are not alone. And that leaves us with a final, really important question to ponder. When a community decides to fight on both of these fronts at once, the one against crime and the one for health, how is the battle for its future, for its heart, truly won?